Hello everyone, welcome to the Virtual Cheese Awards 2023. My name is Gautam Krishna. I'll be the moderator of this session. Today we'll be judging Stilton. Today's class is sponsored by Lottie Shaw's. Richard, I think both of you have the Lottie Shaw's crackers, who is the sponsor of this session. There we go.
All right, so here we are, ladies and gentlemen. They work really well with the blue cheese. Got a lovely caramel crunch that balances the tanginess and the piquant effect of the blue cheese. So we probably won't be eating them during the judging but we're certainly, Hero and I have been, she's been nibbling them already. And these are definitely going into the biscuit barrel along with the other cheeses I've kept from the session.
I know we're not judging biscuits today, but they're really creepily, actually. They're really good.
Yeah, great compliment to the blue cheese.
We are judging Blue Stilton, and our judges are Hero Hirsch and Richard Newell. Would you like to introduce yourself before we begin judging?
Sure. So I'm Hero Hirsch from Paxton and Whitfield. Paxton and Whitfield is the UK's oldest cheesemonger at 226 years. I've been there for 15 years and really excited to try some exciting cheeses today.
Richard?
Yes, hello everyone. I'm Richard Newell. You've heard me already talking about the biscuits. And so I've been working in the British cheese industry for over 40 years now. I've worked at 3 different Stilton factories. So I like to think Stilton's my speciality. So quite honoured to be judging this today.
Brilliant. So the judges will be using a point system where they assign points to different attributes of the cheese. And in the end, the cheese with the highest score wins and moves to the next round. So starting with the first cheese, which would be C11134.
Nicely wrapped in cling film inside its outer packaging.
Okay. So appearance-wise, I have a fairly sort of even looking appearance in the paste. The rind is again fairly even. There's nothing no sticky, overly sticky patches on that rind.
Yeah, nice thin rind. We don't like to see too much staining, encroaching. Little bit of what they call brevilinens. That orange is almost a similar sort of flora to what you get in a smear ripened cheese. Don't know why, but it tends to make, when it's there, I don't know if you eat with your eyes, but it always tends to taste better when you've got a nice orange crust. So looks encouraging to start with.
So appearance out of 10, Richard. You go relatively high for this.
It's got blue vein, a nice even blue veining. And of course, with any blue cheese, you're eating what the blue mold has done rather than the taste of the blue mold. So it's a prerequisite that you have even blue veining right to the surface. And this piece of cheese has that. So that's very encouraging. I would say from an appearance perspective, it ticks the box for me.
Yep, absolutely. I would go relatively high. Again, my bluing goes all the way up to the rind on this. So high expectation.
So how much would you rate this out of 10?
For me, it's a 9, 8.5 or 9.
With that.
A 9?
Thank you.
And the aroma?
It's very complex aroma, this one.
Yeah, and it's not overly ammoniacal. And when the blue mold starts to break the cheese curds down, it makes amino acids and then ultimately ammonia. And because it starts off being made quite acidic, it should end up quite mellow and balanced as the ammonia alkali neutralizes the acid. Too much technical detail there, but to summarize, after all that waffle, quite balanced.
Yeah, the ammonia is definitely present, but it's not overwhelming. The rind obviously has a little bit more of that going on. But
personally, I tend not to eat the rind with the Stilton, probably because they're matured on a shelf exposed and they're turned by hand. But you can, but I don't personally.
Yep, no, I tend not to. For aroma, therefore, I mean, it's definitely what I would expect from a Stilton.
Yeah. Good 8.
Yeah, I'd give it an 8.
An 8. Moving on to the texture of the cheese.
Yep. So
it
with a
seems to be nicely ripened, nicely broken down, a sort of quite squidgy texture.
Starts off crumbly, and as the blue works its magic, the cheese becomes more buttery as time goes on. And this is nicely presented, Hero. It's a tricky thing because a lot of the public won't realise, and you viewers won't realise, that most Stiltons are typically, a standard Stilton is only 9 weeks old from being milk, but because it's the blue mold that gives it the strength of flavour. So another week on, and it's a significantly different cheese, different cheese, which it's always tricky when you're making Stilton to supply to the likes of Hero, to have it, ready for the viewers to purchase at the right time.
So how are we looking score-wise?
I think texture-wise, I think it's very good, actually. I love how broken down it is, but it's not sort of overly so. It just has that perfect sort of, like you say, buttery, sort of creamy texture.
Yeah, I'd buy that again if I was a consumer, I think.
An 8, a 9?
Yeah, somewhere in the middle. Yeah, I'm completely aligned with you on that. Shall we go 8.5?
Let's do that.
8.5. Brilliant. How's it tasting? What's the flavor like?
The salt is
just on the edge of going ammoniacal. Just right on the limit of.
It is. It's about as far as you can take a Stilton, isn't it?
Yes, before it starts to go ammonia and up the back of your nose, sort of thing. So, yeah, we're being really picky here. A week younger, and it would have been probably an 8.5 again, to be fair.
I'm very comfortable with that as a score. I think it's delicious. It is right on the edge.
Any particular flavor that comes through? Any taste that particularly comes through?
Sorry, I didn't hear you properly. Say that again.
Any particular taste that really comes through?
It's almost sort of bovril-y. It's sort of like buttered toast with bovril on it.
It's such a complex combination of flavors. It's almost like they all come together as I couldn't really split it out.
So that's 8.5.
Yeah,
is it?
8.5.
I'd say so. It's a very nice piece of cheese.
Very nice.
We can move on to the next cheese when you're ready, judges.
Which is the next cheese, sorry?
That'll be C11130.
1130. Okay.
One moment. Okay, 1130. Here we go.
Appearance-wise, we've got certainly on the sample I have a very different look to the rind here. There's none of that sort of pinky orange. It's actually more. It almost looks like a sort of a granite sort of rock type of appearance. Quite uneven.
It's funny you said granite. Now I was going to say limestone. It's sort of a grey, slightly dusty appearance.
Yeah,
like a limestone wall. Yeah, and it's very evenly blued right to the end.
it is evenly blued right to the end. I do have just underneath the rind a little bit of kind of shadow, sort of shading, I guess, in the paste. That
bit of staining.
Yeah,
it's quite interesting that particularly for the viewers, Stilton's normally eaten at Christmas, and quite often you go into a retailer and you'll see a piece of Stilton and everyone looks for this lovely white cheese with blue veins, but actually when the blue has done its work, what you would call a paste hero actually needs to be cream coloured. That says the blue's done its work. Interesting to see how it actually delivers from an aroma and flavour perspective. But from an appearance, it's a little less well defined than the previous sample. Not that we should talk about that, but there's a lovely even distribution of blue right to the edges.
Yep.
The crust doesn't look, for me, quite so visually appealing.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. And I would say that there is a bit of, yeah, it's sort of like greying almost around the blue mold through the paste in mine.
For the bluing, I'd have done a 9, but for the crust, I'd have done a 7. So I don't know. What are your thoughts, Hero?
I'm feeling around a 7.5 here,
yeah.
appearance-wise.
Yeah,
7.5
the crust
for
definitely
the.
detracts from the visual, unfortunately.
Moving on to the aroma of the cheese.
That's quite farmyardy, isn't it?
It is. Farmy, beefy, and ammonia again. More ammonia. It's very, yes, it does have a farmy note. There's no two ways about it.
Which could go one of two ways, really, couldn't it?
It's a 7 for me.
Sure, yeah, I could see that with a 7.
Would you be happy with that?
Yeah, I'd go. I would have gone 6 or 7.
Yeah, okay.
How's the texture looking like?
We haven't got there yet.
It's
with the colouring, you'd expect it to be less crumbly. Stiltons always start off very crumbly, but the blue makes them become more creamy and buttery, and you can see by the yellowing of the curd that the blue's been doing its job.
Yeah, we've got almost a sort of springy, pasty elasticity to this one.
It's almost got a gel to the mouthfeel.
Yeah, it is that. It's unusual because I would expect a bit more crumble. But you have, yeah, this springy elasticity to it that's a little unexpected.
How much would you score this sort of time?
I'm not sure that that's the texture I would expect from a Stilton.
And I'm not sure it's the texture I particularly like.
No,
having graded many thousands of different ones, I'm probably a 6 for that on body and texture.
Yeah, I'd be around a 5 or 6 there.
It almost has a soft cheddar type texture rather than a butteriness.
Yeah, definitely a texture I'd associate with sort of some semi-soft cheeses as opposed to this style. Yes. Yeah.
That's 6 for the texture. Moving on to the flavor of the cheese.
Do you want to go first, Hero? It's like the rugby pass. Over to you.
I gotcha. There's something around that sort of gel type texture and the salt that I think is not quite what I'd expect. I think I just expect for a Stilton a little bit more balance of savoury, and I'm getting a lot of the salt and a hint of bitterness that I would really expect to see a few other things come into play first. So it's not.
You think you have every base covered and then one phone rings that you've left plugged in?
For me, that's maybe a 6 or a 7.
Yeah, and I'm probably a 5.5. It has the salt you said, and ironically, we're talking about flavour, but the body and texture, in a weird way, influences the flavour perception. It's not for me.
It doesn't have the complexity that I would be hoping for. So would you be happy to do it with a 6?
Yeah, we'll go with 6, but yeah, top end for me.
A 6 for the flavor. So we can move to the next cheese when you're ready, judges.
Thank you.
Next cheese would be C11044.
Healthy portion of Stilton.
I'd say it's a very generous sample, isn't it?
So what lovely distribution of blue veining.
Very much so, and it seems like the veins are very fine, almost like much more sort of
Yes.
speckles than some of them.
Nice clean crust, no staining.
Wow.
So I'd be pleased to pick that up off a supermarket shelf based on the appearance. The
Definitely.
crust got a
More than
little
10
bit of
count
darkness.
even.
I'd go for a relatively generous mark for appearance here.
Yeah, what would you be, 8.5, 9?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Which
8.5.
8.5 it is. I
Yeah.
agree.
8.5 for the appearance. How's the aroma?
Complex, slightly ammoniacal.
Yeah, quite a bit of ammonia. I'm just going to, because it's been in a cling film, so I'm just going to
Cut a piece off it.
center the cheese. Yeah.
Nicely evenly broken down.
Yeah. There's quite a bit of ammonia on the nose.
A straight 8 for aroma.
Sure.
That's 8 for aroma. Moving to the texture of the cheese.
Looking at the texture, the blue's done its work. It's sort of changed
Nice.
from crumbly and becoming bush. It's very slightly sticky.
Yeah, nicely broken down, isn't it? It has a very silky mouthfeel as well. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
quite good. Mm. Mm.
Probably bang on. If you were buying that, that's where it would need to be eaten.
Yeah,
So,
no, I'd agree
well-
with that. I think the age is like absolutely spot on.
So 8.5 to a 9 for me for body and texture.
I'd give it a 9.
Okay, 9 it is.
9 for the texture. How about the flavor?
I'm really enjoying this one.
Particularly lovely.
Mm. Yeah, really sort of like upfront, savoury, quite meaty notes, like a sort of roast meat.
And it's balanced, isn't it, Hero? It's got the piquancy and it's got a little bit of sweetness as well.
Mm.
Rounded mouthfeel. Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice even bluing. The aging is absolutely perfect. Yeah, no, I'd go pretty high on that one, I think.
9 again.
Yeah.
9 again for the flavor. So that's the end of this cheese, and we have one more to go for this class. I'll be
Okay.
C11032.
That one's going in the fridge, by the way. One of the perks of judging for the Virtual Cheese Awards.
I would like some of that cheese. If you guys are giving it such high scores, then wow.
But you're not having this piece, Sarah.
We
You're
don't know
not
which
that
cheese
far
it
away
is.
from me, Richard.
Really
I can always
good
get there.
It's good. It was a generous sample.
It was, yeah, exactly. Double wham. Double wham.
Obviously confident in their quality.
So the last piece, it's got that lovely orange russet brown
Mhm.
crust. We talked about it briefly before. It's sort of some what they call brevilinens. You quite often see it on smear ripened cheeses. And whether you eat with your eyes or you eat with your mouth, it definitely appeals more and seems to taste better when it has that brown in the crust. So good blue veining, not right up to the outside edges. I mean, you know, there are a few spaces here that don't have the bluing.
Not quite, and it's a little less, a little inconsistent. I've got some really dark coloration in some of my bluing as well, which I think is quite interesting. But I think it's still quite attractive.
Very pronounced, isn't it?
Yeah.
So from an appearance, it doesn't have the full blue veining to the edge, if we're being particularly on that side. Can you see? So here it's lacking blue veining. And of course, the piercing needles go in from the outside. They're not copper, by the way, for viewers. It's stainless steel to let the blue grow. But of course, the needles go in, you get a bigger gap between them. So you tend not to get so much blue to the outside. But you do want it to be blue because it's the blue that breaks the curd down.
Yeah.
So what should we say? 7.5, 8 for appearance?
Yeah, I'd be happy with 7.5.
7.5.
Aroma?
Again, we've got something quite farmyardy.
And ammonia, and there's a lot of blue. There's a lot going on with this piece of cheese.
The ammonia's quite restrained, I think. It's not overpowering. So for aroma,
8.
an 8. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
8 for the aroma. Moving on to the texture of the cheese.
Okay.
Nice crumble.
The texture is very different at the nose of the wedge. You'd expect where all the needles meet for there to be more bluing, which breaks the curd down more. I'm going to try some at the outside edge. You'd expect it to be slightly more crumbly to the outside. Firmer. Peak on that one, Hero.
Yeah, I'm trying not to get distracted by the flavour as we're doing mouthfeel and texture, but
Yeah, I've already been distracted.
there's a bit to say. Texture wise, I actually think the texture is fine. It's sort of quite fudgy, has a nice crumble. I don't think I would mark it down too much on texture.
No, what would you go for?
I was thinking an 8.
Yeah, okay. 8
An 8
8.5,
for the texture.
Flavor wise, it's quite acidic. It's like a really big sort of juicy hit of sort of sourness.
Any more, it would be slightly harsh, wouldn't it? It's just right on the cusp. But a lot of a nice flavour. This word "nice," it's horrible, but you just have to live with it.
There's a real complexity to it. I think that acidity is kind of it's right on the edge of being out of balance, but it's carrying all of the other stuff, savory, the salt, all of that stuff.
Yes.
I think balance wise, I might just say it's not perfectly balanced just from that acidity. But it is very nice. If we're using nice again.
You want to give it a score?
This?
Maybe a 7.5.
Yeah, I'm a 7.5 too.
Yeah.
7.5.
Just probably gone on a week and a half too long.
Right.
So that brings us to the end of this judging. So there are 2 cheeses that scored. One is scored 38.25 and the other is scored 39. Do you have any? So the 38.25 cheese is C1 1134. So that's 38.25.
Which was the large?
So the 39 is C1 1044.
I mean, I would personally say that my favorite and first place for me is 1044.
1044.
Yeah, and I'm just looking here at the actual numbers. 1044. That was the large piece of Stilton that's going in my fridge.
Yeah.
Great. So
hands down winner for me.
Yeah, that's same for me. Definitely.
So that'll be C1 1044. That'll be the winner of this class. And before winding off this session, I'd like to thank our sponsors again. I'd like to thank Lottie's Shaw's for sponsoring this class. Also, I'd like to thank our sponsor Butler's Farmhouse Cheeses for our aprons. And last not least, our fabulous judges, Hero Hirsch and Richard Neal. Also, we have joined the Sarah Tivitt. Thanks everyone, thanks for watching. And also almost missed it for the viewers. There's this live event on the 17th of May where you can watch the judging of best of classes in the categories English, Irish, Welsh, and Scottish. Also, we'll be recognizing by giving awards to some talented and passionate people in the industry. And also, it's the day we'll be crowning the virtual Supreme Champion for the Virtual Cheese Award 2023. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kevin.
Bye.